Another doctrine that we could call was number 7. Doctrine of the enlightened child. So, when a child is visibly prodigious beyond their years, knowledge can give way to wisdom at an early age. And when a child pursues wisdom via the quest for absolute truth, then the real and the wisdom will remain into adulthood. But when the focus for a youth becomes worldly matters, well, then such will usually remain the sole focus in adulthood. This doctrine may very well explain the concept of a midlife crisis. Consider one who realizes half or more of their life, especially all their vital years are now gone, and then they realize they may not have advanced very much on a personal or a spiritual or whatnot level. I'm not speaking of religion. Spirituality for our purpose represents our relationship with the unified source of all being and creation, however we may come to see that. It's a spiral. In returning to the source, that wisdom is maintained. This doctrine walks hand in hand with the doctrine of critical periods, I think, and psychology's clean slate theory. Before being exposed to all aspects of the world, the young Druid initiates would be trained to strengthen themselves on a personal level, to attain the highest potential at their current stage of development, and then, only then, go and express this outwardly in the world. It's easier to know who you are before being put into positions where masks and facades must be carried to live out, or lived up to, or adapted to different expectations and circumstances. And that's just what we kind of expect. And we look to authority a lot of times. We know that there's critical periods of learning, and then a child is more capable, example, of learning multiple languages than an adult. We look to the authorities to instruct them and to mold them at impressionable time periods. And this again goes back to our slate of reality and how new learning can interfere with a long-running program or older learning, older programs. We get used to a set way in which to view the world or reality, and usually the set is based on another person's set, and the set that we've been given. And those who think with a different mindset are usually misunderstood by most of the populace. Magic's a good example. We just did 60 or so videos on how to be a wizard. Magic is a mindset that is not generally understood by the larger populace. A lot of this has to do with the terminology and definitions, of course, and there's a deeper irony at play here. All of the elements of magic are actually incorporated from generally accepted fields, psychology, philosophy, but few who want to argue or debate against it take the time to see this. As we express it in the Arcanum book, magic is 95% metapsychology, which is the use of psychological, the logic of the mind, for more than what is currently being used for in that field. The field of psychology in and of itself is not absolute truth. And any psych student can tell you that, even to this day, the study of psychology remains to be a series of stuffed-shirted authorities arguing their theories amongst themselves. Much of the time, a series of the theories could all be true at the same time, but they seldom stop to even consider that possibility. A good example of this is the habit of smoking and the allegations that it causes, in and of itself, the lung cancers and whatnot. In essence, one could look at some statistical information, and sure enough, lung cancer seems to have a correlation with smoking. But does the equation stop there? Have we really considered all possibilities? Perhaps there's another element hidden somewhere within the lines. Is there anything that could cause both the tendency to smoke and the likelihood of cancer and reduce immune levels? What about stress? Do you think it would be logical to deduce that stress could produce a tendency to smoke, which in turn causes more stress by the act of smoking? I mean, cancer becomes the result of the stresses on the body as well as the continual irritations of the carcinogens of the smoke on the lungs. So it sounds like a good argument to me, but of course if you simply try to attack the habit of smoking without discovering the means to better cope with stress, then you'll either not completely end the habit or you'll find another crutch to pseudo-manage the stresses. So, I don't know. Critical thinking, creativity, products of an enlightened child. It would appear that these things, when nurtured, will aid the individual through adulthood, where they are more difficult to attain, if not previously, existent. The question then remains as to whether this is a capability that all humans have, or whether it's something, specific to the upbringing, or whether people are products of their environment or their heredity. And from a Druidic view, it would almost be 99% environment. The ancients found little correlation to certain family blood or lifestyle in comparison to abilities, with the exception of the Dragon Kings and so forth, but the type of Druidry that we study now is not that Druidry. It's the Druidry of, maybe 2,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, up to maybe 1,500 years ago. So, really, the only thing that genetics was a part of by that point for them was the physiological structure of an individual, and therefore the physical capabilities, such as strength or endurance. These things could be improved on in any case. Druids seem to be mainly focused on mental and spiritual faculties. That, combined with their discounted view on war, shows they had little need to emphasize athletics, though physical activities were most certainly accessible for the children and adults who wanted to participate with that in Celtic society. So.